Hello, and welcome to Technology Today, powered by ohmtown.com. Today is March 10th, 2024. It is Season 1, Episode 3. This is the latest new show from ohmtown.com. I am Mayor Watt, and today we're going to be covering the following 10 articles: measuring atoms, electric grid protections, electric aircraft, VGer, cow burps, next-gen AI Superchips from nVidia, 4D knit dress robot, Surreal Sci-Fi, harvesting solar power, and stealing AI secrets for Chinese rival. I don't have an intro yet, I don't have transitions yet, but everything is brought to you by Hello again, I am Mayor Watt, that is ohmtown.com, and you are watching Technology Today. We're going to run down 10 articles. Normally they're pretty in depth, so let's gauge this and kind of walk through it and talk about it. The very first article, though, is here. An ingenious new method measures the 3D position of individual atoms. So the method, developed by the universities of Bonn and Bristol, uses an ingenious physical principle. For over 10 years, physicists have been able to pinpoint atoms. University of Bonn is where the article has been is published from, but it's published at scitechdaily.com. It says researchers have devised a method to accurately measure an atom's three-dimensional position within a single image, revolutionizing quantum mechanics experiments and material development by facilitating precise atom manipulation and tracking. If this is true and you actually have the ability to push the atoms wherever you want them, it's going to be amazing. Because you would basically be able to create a what do they call it? Oh man, it's on Star Trek. Like not a transporter, but it would be equivalent to a transporter. You'd be able to basically create whatever material that you want. But it says here, for over 10 years, physicists have been able to pinpoint the exact positions of individual atoms with a precision finer than 1,000th of a millimeter using a specialized microscope. However, this method has so far only provided the X and Y coordinates. Information on the vertical position of the atom, i.e. the distance between the atom and the microscope objective, is lacking. A new method has now been developed that can determine all three spatial coordinates of an atom with one single image. This method, developed by University of Bonn and the University of Bristol, is based on an ingenious physical principle. Why do I feel like this is going to be a redshift kind of a thing? So the challenge of measuring the third dimension. Anyone who's been using a microscope in a biology class to study plant cell will be able to tell you about a similar situation. I actually had spun up a streaming channel that was involved with a microscope, and it would stream in real time various microscope slides with stuff on it. But let's just say some weird things happen. It says, but are both of them located in the same place, right? You find a chloroplast and you have to sit there and go, is it left and right, and is it on top of it? What's going on? Once you adjust the focus of the microscope, however, you see that the image of the nucleus becomes sharper while the image of the chloroplast blurs. One of them must be a little bit higher or lower than the other. However, this method cannot give a precise detail about their vertical positions. But apparently this is how it looks in practice, which is kind of a grainy, pixelated hot mess. But it says the different rotational directions of the various dumbbells indicate that the atoms lie in different planes. The rotational directions. Oh, okay. Interesting. So the principle is very similar if you want to observe individual atoms instead of cells. So-called quantum gas microscopy can be used for this purpose. It allows you to straightforwardly determine the x and y coordinates of an atom. However, it's much more difficult to measure its z coordinate, i.e. the distance to the objective lens, or what you are looking through. In order to find out on what plane the atom is located, multiple images must be taken in which the focus is shifted across various different planes. This is complex and time-consuming. I would suspect that it could shift as well, but so to experiment on the atoms, it's first necessary to cool them down significantly so that they're barely moving. Okay, so that's how they could take multiple images. The image of an atom produced by a quantum gas microscope is normally a round, slightly blurred speck. The researchers have distorted it into a dumbbell shape. The direction in which the dumbbell is pointing shows the z coordinate, which doesn't make any sense to me. So why would it show the z coordinate? Hold on. So if you're looking down at it, x and y, if it's oriented in a particular way, it can't show distance. So the dumbbell acts as like a needle on a compass, allowing us to read off the z coordinate according to its orientation, says Professor Dieter Mesched. But I don't really get what it is that they're looking at. The method could also be used to help develop new quantum materials with special characteristics, of course. For example, we have to investigate which quantum mechanical force or effects occur when atoms are arranged in a particular order. So yeah, it makes totally sense to me. But maybe if they know the thickness of what they are looking at, and everything is always the same, depending on the direction of where it is, it's either higher or lower in that region because of the orientation. Instead of the typical round specks, the deformed wavefront produces a dumbbell shape on the camera that rotates around itself. The direction in which this dumbbell points is dependent on the distance that the light had to travel from the atom to the camera. Oh, okay. So that's what it's counting the amount of time the light took to be detected. So then they know exactly how far away it is. Interesting. Yeah, I mean, it's like fiber optics. Okay, so let's keep going though. I don't want to hover too long on one particular article. The next article is in Technology Today as well. The dangers lurking in our electric grid. Scientists propose smarter protection method. I mentioned earlier where ohmTown is located. ohmTown is located in the electrical grid. We are basically a hotspot of resistance. A little segment, a little community of like-minded individuals who really appreciate news and its many sources, and we just gather it up so that information overload doesn't overwhelm Mayor Watt. That's why it was created, and I just opened it up to the public a couple of years ago. So go over to ohmTown.com and check it out. So the proliferation of programmable devices creates additional entry points for cyber attacks. There's a downside: smart devices, they can be hacked. This is something that I tell people all the time. Internet of Things devices in particular can be hacked. The dangers lurking on our electric grid. Scientists propose smarter protection method. This is from the Pacific Northwest National Laboratory. It's posted at SciTech Daily. And there's no human byline there. It's just the name of the company, or organization, I should say. So at the recent annual meeting of the Association for the Advancement of Artificial Intelligence in Vancouver, Canada, a team of experts at the Department of Energy's Pacific Northwest National Laboratory put forth a new approach to protect the grid. The team, led by data scientist Sumit Purohit, is trying to leapfrog current practices and create a better level of protection. Instead of protecting the electrical grid and its tens of thousands of components piece by piece, the team is creating a tool that sorts and prioritizes cyber threats on the fly. This is probably not the best way. The idea is the grid operator a clear blueprint to identify and address the biggest threats first and to protect against them without a mad scramble for resources down the road. But it's risk assessment at this point. In 0 days are the biggest threat. As long as you're not a dimwit and you fail to upgrade and patch your equipment and firmwares wherever they may be, it's a 0 day that gets exploited, and you're not going to be able to detect that until something anomalous appears. A great deal of effort is put forth every day into addressing specific vulnerabilities, but that can be overwhelming, Purohit says. We're putting forth a longer-term solution. What do you need to be looking at, not just today or tomorrow, but years down the road as the grid is changing? Artificial intelligence is really going to be playing a major role in this, detecting anomalous behavior, mapping cyber attack paths. The team's formula is based on a model known as hybrid attack graphs, a mathematical approach that is becoming more popular as the cyber and physical worlds become interconnected. The approach gives users the flexibility to map out and follow multiple attack routes as they evolve and as defenders and attackers give and take ground. The team uses optimization and data from actual grid cyber attacks to train the model. I guess that's kind of a no shit news portion of tonight. A key part of the team's work is making sure that the work is explainable, that grid operators and cyber analysts understand the reasons why the model prioritizes and makes the recommendations it does. I can guarantee you cyber analysts are going to be able to understand it, but they're going to sit there and go, it's kind of BS. Because it's if everything is patched, somebody is going to be using a 0 day. It's not going to be, or 1 day. I mean, it's like immediate threat. PNL researcher Braden Webb also contributed to the project. The research funded by PNNL is part of a project called Resilience Through Data-Driven Intelligently Designed Control, where cybersecurity analyst Thomas Edgar and others are part of the effort. Yeah, I mean, it's artificial intelligence, machine learning, risk assessment, but then humans are going to have to go and harden these systems and maintain them. So get out there, get certified, and go work. The next article is over in Technology Today as well. Report shows that an electric aircraft will need grid upgrades, on-site generation and storage, and frankly, I think they need anti-gravity devices to keep them afloat. These beasts of electric aircrafts are going to be so much heavier than what's out there right now. But Connor O'Neill National Renewable Energy Laboratory put this article together for techexplore.com. And it says the 18-person NREL team produced the study by surveying aircraft manufacturers and potential vertiport sites, so vertical takeoff and landing locations, analyzing realistic service routes and studying the infrastructure investments that could make eVTOL possible. If you've listened to any of our previous shows, here in the States, Wyoming is basically telling everybody to go to hell, and it might actually be Wyoming at this point, because they're not going to augment their power grid to support EVs, electric vehicles, or hinder the maintenance and survivability of the coal and oil industry in the state. So all of you in Wyoming pretty much have a shot across your bow that you might as well just pull up in a freaking covered wagon. So where will electric aircrafts recharge? You're going to have to find some spot. And I think that it's one of the dumbest things, which is you're now going to have to wait for your electric vertical takeoff and landing vehicle to charge for hours upon hours in a requiring a battery pack that is, it has to be bigger, much more powerful discharge rate to lift all of that up and fly you to your location. And these are like short hops, not long nationwide flights. So it says we studied 3 interrelated pieces of the puzzle for eVTOL vertiports evaluating in-flight demand, estimating charging demand, and determining grid capability to meet this demand. And, well, everything is lacking because there are few sites that would have it, require it, and would have the infrastructure necessary to charge these massive batteries. So what does it take? What does it take to charge an aircraft? Utilities will need to be involved early in planning because vertiports are not an everyday load. They would increase site demand by 6 to 7 times in most cases. And utilities would need to upgrade transformers, lines, voltage regulators, protection equipment, and possibly electricity bills and demand charges. Early on, utilities would also need a reasonable idea of the vehicle's charge schedules to get an idea of daily load. So it's all going to be extraordinary, and these things are going to be extremely heavy because of the battery packs. What was it? There was a new vehicle that's coming out. I think it's from Rivian, where the car... Oh, no, I'm sorry. It's a Chevy Camaro electric that's going to have a 3-ton weight. It's going to be 6,000 pounds. You're out of your mind. But I want one. That's probably the Camaro all-wheel drive electric. I wish it would be hybrid, and I'm on board. So, but these electric aircraft, when they run out of battery, they're not going to float down. They're not going to drift down. They're not going to be a soft landing. They're going to freaking drop like a massive weight, because that's all they are, is a big chunk of battery flying out of the sky. But that's okay. I guess it won't happen in Wyoming. The next article is over in ohmTown Daily. The Voyager spacecraft will probably last 1 billion years, says scientist on the mission for nearly 5 decades. Alan Cummings has worked on the Voyager mission for over 50 years. Since their launch, the 2 Voyager spacecraft have made breakthrough discoveries that keep Cummings engaged. Cummings thinks that they'll be traveling for 1 billion years. The twin Voyager spacecraft launched almost 5 decades ago, and there's no reason that they shouldn't keep going for 1 billion years, one of the scientists, Alan Cummings, told Business Insider. Well, if a Star Trek was any indicator, the documentary about its Voyager returning as V'ger says that no, it's not going to be 1 billion years. It's going to be several thousand, but it'll be back, or several hundred, I should say, and it'll be back. Jenny McGrath over at Business Insider put this article together. I think it's now one of the Voyagers is out in interstellar space, but it's going to keep on flying until something really messes with it, and that's kind of the bummer part. It's going to be out there in blank space, just whatever. The vastness of the emptiness is just unreal. But Voyager 1 and 2 have traveled 10 billion miles into space, further than any human-made object. Cummings says that it's part of a historic mission for so many decades that has been the backbone of his career. Pretty cool. Let's see here. The first time Cummings saw Jupiter's moon Io in 1979, for example, he thought it was a joke. It looked like a poorly made pizza. There you go. Image of Jupiter's moon Io as seen from Voyager 1. In total, the 2 spacecraft have snapped 67,000 images of our solar system, the final of which was the pale blue dot made famous by Carl Sagan, who said, "To my mind, there is purpose." Quote, "To my mind, there is perhaps no better demonstration of the folly of human conceits than this distant image of our tiny world." And I guess Earth appears as a pale blue dot in this image from Voyager 1, taken when the spacecraft was 3.7 billion miles from the sun. And it's sitting right there in this little dust cloud kind of a thing. Pretty amazing that we have this couple of spacecraft out there. But we've done some pretty amazing things, like firing the DART at an asteroid, knocking it out of its normal trajectory, taking a chunk out of it, grabbing samples from an asteroid, bringing it back, and then dropping it on Earth and going off in another direction. I mean, it's just we're becoming pretty damn proficient at this stuff. All the while dirtying space with our comings and goings. It's kind of like a spring break in Florida. We're just sending our shit out into space and having a good old time. But we'll see. I mean, like I said, if V'ger comes back, we know what to do. By the time Cummings got to Russia, the instrument was destroyed. They're referring to, for several summers, he had released a balloon from northern Manitoba, Canada, but during its final flight, the balloon didn't descend as expected and ended up in Russia, and it was destroyed by the time he could get there. So it's out in interstellar space. That's pretty stellar. Yeah, who knows? There's been some talk recently about the fact that who knows if anybody will ever find it, and if they do find it, will anybody even understand how to review the data that's on it, because it has a gold record with various indicators, even so much as including like DNA and sending them directions to us. Yeah, because that's what you want to do. Send the Borg directions. Yeah, so it'll be interesting to see what comes next. There's more over at this article. So let me throw it into the chat and you can go and take a look at it. The next article is over in Technology Today as well. Phage Genomics gets $1.5 million grant from Gates Foundation to fight cowburp methane. I love this. Seattle biotech startup Phage Genomics is receiving $1.5 million from the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation to fund research into two important areas: killing drug-resistant bacteria and battling methane-producing microorganisms that live in the guts of cows and other ruminants. We talked about it a couple of days ago, I believe, in ohmTown Daily News Show, but I thought that it was significant enough that we should talk about it. Lisa Stifler over at geekwire.com put the article together. And it says the startup's work is centered on bacteriophages, or phages, that are viruses that infect bacteria, as well as the microorganisms known as archaea. The phages produce proteins called lysins that target specific bacteria. With support from the Gates Foundation, we're harnessing our global phage database with the goal of improving human and environmental health and providing a critical alternative to traditional antibiotics. Because drug-resistant... not drug resistant, but where is it? Antibiotic resistant bacteria increases, and you end up with a superbug that is extremely capable of harming humans. And with ever increasing antibiotics, it still doesn't get rid of it. So you, like I said, you end up with this superbug because it only kills so much, and then our immune system eliminates whatever might be surviving, or it dies on its own. But when you only kill a certain number, the strongest tend to survive, and then those might replicate. So Liachka was a finalist for the Startup of the Year in 2023 GeekWire Awards. Pardon me. And the Gates Foundation funded project includes a collaboration between Phage Genomics and Seattle-based Lumen Bioscience, which will help in assessing the bioactivity of lysins. So hopefully they'll be able to stop cows from burping, because they are the number one source of greenhouse gases. And in reality, it's humans that are not the number one source for greenhouse gases, because we need so many cows out there for consumption. Focus on the Campylobacter infections, which are among the most common human infections and can cause severe gastrointestinal distress. Let's just say that. Let's keep going. Oh, you know what? Before I do that, let me throw this into the chat. Sorry about that. This next article is over in Warcrafters, because it actually comes from PC Gamer. nVidia's next-gen AI Superchips will reportedly consume up to 1,000 watts. The flagship graphics cards are recent generations have been trending towards maximum power consumption. The RTX 4090 can pull more than 450 watts. The RTX 3090 Ti can do the same, while AMD's RX 7900 XTX is rated at 355 watts. Factory overclocked models are typically a bit higher than that, but those are rookie numbers because apparently NVIDIA's next GB200 AI accelerator can pull 1000 watts. Dun dun dun. That is a lot. So Chris Seswick over at PCGamer.com put the article together. Upgrade the power grid while you're at it. But again, not in Wyoming. The source of the 1000 watt claim is a statement made by Dell COO Jeffrey Clark during Dell's Q4 2024 earnings call via the Register. He's as likely to be in the know as anyone, so this 1000 watt claim is no mere rumor. Clark's actual quote is, "Our characterization in the thermal side, you really don't need direct liquid cooling to get the energy density of 1000 watts per GPU. That happens next year with the B200. So letting the cat out of the bag or saying the quiet parts out loud. So its next generation flagship enterprise GPU is being referred to as the B100. It's based on the Blackwell architecture. However, there is a GB200, which combines the B100 GPU with the Grace CPU. It's likely Clark simply misspoke and is referring to the latter. All right. Yeah. So how much did these things cost? Let's find out. Oh, hopefully cards like the RTX 5060 and 5070 keep the excellent power efficiency and performance per watt characteristics of cards like the 4060 and 4070 Super. Yeah. Well, they don't say what the price is. Estimated, you know. That's okay. They're usually very expensive. $20,000 kind of a thing. Okay, let's keep going. The next article is over in Technology Today as well. 4D knit dress robot uses several technologies to create a custom design and a custom fit. Until recently, bespoke tailoring, clothing made to a customer's individual specifications was the only way to have garments that provided the perfect fit for your physique. For most people, bespoke clothing is cost prohibitive. However, the invention of active fibers and innovative knitting processes is changing the textile industry. I read this yesterday, I think it was. We talked about it yesterday in ohmTown Daily News Show, but I thought it was significant enough to talk about it in Tech Today. Maria Iacobo, I think is their name. I hope it's their name. Put the article together. But if you look at this, what you see is a robot with a heat gun on the end of it, and that's actually because it's part of a demonstrator. This fabric was knitted by a machine, and this heat gun actually causes the mesh fabric to conform to the mannequin's shape, whatever it might be. So kind of like a shrink wrapping something or thermoforming something. Yeah, it's pretty interesting. And they talk about it, but I might as well just show you this thing. This is a video over on Vimeo. And so they say standard is boring. They can put a bunch of different fabric designs on there and then they heat them up. And depending on how the fabric has been constructed and knitted together, all it takes is a heat gun and it conforms to the shape of the person. And depending on how each layer of the fabric is put together, you can have a different type of dress, like an A-line or what do they call them? Like a shift dress, I think it's called, where it's like straight or something like that. I don't know. I'm not a fashionista, for crying out loud. I mean, look at me. Pardon me. So this printer just prints this out really fast, spits it out, and then you put it on. And then this heat gun just warms it up. And I'm really sorry, I have to take a drink. So there you see it, the heat gun just warming it all up, and it conforms to the shape of the mannequin. Yeah, it's fascinating. And the thing about it is this knit dress is put together. So all it does is print it all out, and then you can throw it on a mannequin, heat it up, and it conforms to the wearer. Look at that. I mean, it's ready to go. Still moves like a regular dress. It can be, I assume, can be washed just like a regular dress, or dry cleaned, or hand washed. It really depends, I suppose. But it says it took a while to determine how the robot could reach all of the areas of the dress. We couldn't use a commercial heat gun, which is like a handheld dryer, because they're too large, needed a more compact one. So they figured it out. It was a lot of fun to write the script for the robot to follow, and that's all it is a fabric that is designed to, along with the heat, basically contract to the wearer's dimensions. And because it's still a knitted dress, it has insulation features. It has breathable to some degree. You can control that with the density of the knit. But this is going to be taking bespoke designers' jobs eventually. This is just the prototype for something, and I think that it's coming for us all, kind of a thing. Tech is just moving in. Automation is moving in. So let's keep going, though. Before I do that, let me throw this link into the chat so it's all connected. There you go. So the next article is over in Technology Today. Ultros and the Palette of Surreal Sci-Fi. Game design is daring and dangerous endeavor for Nicholas Ackerblad, who creates under the name of El Huervo. When he describes the artistic process behind Ultros, a neon speckled platformer set in a demonic cosmic uterus, he talks about pushing against the sharp edges of introspection and sanity, drawing from wells of creativity buried deep in his psyche. It sounds like he could have slipped and fallen down any of the wells at any second, never to be seen again. In this game here, El Huervo is testing the limits of color in video games. Jessica Condit over at Engadget.com put the article together. And this is probably one of the more surreal, like Kurzgesagt-esque coloration, bold, somewhat surreal, has this great shadow in the foreground, showing you that you're inside something. I don't know if this is a map or what exactly this is, but yeah, I don't know. It's pretty interesting. When it came to creating the world of Ultros, it involves deep meditation while working and maintaining 100% focus to be able to know when harmony is achieved when working with such dense flow of shapes and colors. It is almost impossible to cerebrally analyze this process, but it is rather something you have to feel. Thus, any external disturbance can greatly impact the process. All right. So his latest project, Ultros, is a 2D exploration of the sarcophagus, a looping world in a black hole that cycles players through environments overrun by alien plant life and vicious demons. Every scene in Ultros is packed with detail and brilliant color. The backgrounds are alive with monsters and organic machines. Streaks of black delineate the boundaries of walking paths, ceilings, and platforms, contrasted against shifting rainbows of luminosity. Looks like it might be a fun platformer. I don't know. Let's see. You can take a look at this game. I'm going to throw it into the chat. I don't think it's in there yet. Yeah, I didn't throw it into the chat. Sorry about that. But the themes explored in Ultros are of an existential and spiritual nature, and I find that surreal sci-fi is a good genre to explore these themes in, as long as the tradition of, as it has a long tradition of doing so. In this regard, Ursula K. Le Guin, who has been a huge inspiration. Hopefully, what we manage to evoke in players is a sense of introspection and comfort. So there is a trailer over here. It says that it's available now. Ultros, Ultros, is available now on PlayStation 4, 5, Steam, and Epic Game Stores. It's published by Kepler Interactive. So there you go. Go and check that out. But follow the link through ohmTown. It'll take you over to Engadget, and it's a much longer intro and description of Ultros, but a surreal, vivid color game side scroller. Let's keep going. Asimov's vision of harvesting solar power from space could become a reality. Let me throw that into the chat for you. You can follow that. Isaac Asimov's idea of harvesting solar power from space may not be a thing of fiction much longer, as space agencies explore the concept. And essentially, it means capturing it and then beaming it down as microwave radiation, more than likely. Sorry, let me do something real quick. Okay. So Isaac Asimov popularized the concept in his 1941 story Reason. The futurists have been dreaming about it ever since. So they have the Digital Trends breaks this out into like 6 different segments. Building a better solar power station is the first one. And so essentially what this does is, they say radio frequency rays wirelessly beam down to Earth. So you have a solar array that converts solar energy into DC energy, converts that into radio waves, radio frequency rays, and then beams it down to a receiving station that essentially reverses it back to its energy. Because it's not created or destroyed, it only changes shape. So that's kind of how this works. So space makes sense. You don't run into the same issues as here on Earth with solar because of all of the atmosphere. And it's such high energy that it can pierce through any of the atmospheric stuff that gets in the way. So they'll be working on developing either the network of satellites or this solar array here. Large array of mirrors intercept and redirect sunlight to a solar power generation module, and that's that. And then beam it down to Earth. I can't imagine this being done in 50 years, 60 years. It's just surreal to be doing that. I would liken it happening more on the moon than in plain space, because you can just send rockets to the moon once you get everything in order. One of the biggest problems is GPS. Going from Earth to the moon, the reliability of our current rocketry seems to be that it just can't handle it. I mean, it just kind of brain farts on the way out. And so when it comes to land, it goes, oh, I'm sleepy, and it lays over, or it does a lawn dart or something. And there's been some talk about actually setting up a GPS satellite system so that it goes from Earth to the moon and beyond with ease. Like it has the ability to just ping and know exactly where it is with greater fidelity. It also makes sense given that NASA and other organizations plan to build long-term habitats on the moon that'll require constant power. Quote, we need power on the moon for any larger installation, and the sources on the moon are very limited. So lunar nights are cold and long, lasting around 2 weeks. So as long as the power source that can sustain visitors during this period. So nuclear and solar are the 2 practical options for this. So if you put a solar array in various places on the moon, as long as it can stay clean, you're not going to run into any problems. But if dust, the regolith, covers any of the portion of a solar panel, you're basically screwed. So they say it's closer than you think. That'll be just in time for the 100-year anniversary of the publication of Asimov's story. So mid-2030s, but I doubt that. This is just too grandiose, I think, for now. We're too busy fighting with ourselves. And this scale would be the whole world needs to work together for a common good. We just can't find it in ourselves. Let's go to the very last article for tonight. And that one is in Technology Today as well. A former Google engineer was arrested for allegedly stealing AI secrets for Chinese rivals. In an indictment that was unsealed in a federal courtroom in California, prosecutors accused Linwei Ding, a 38-year-old Chinese national who started working at Google in 2019, of uploading trade secrets from his Google-issued laptop to personal cloud storage accounts. The documents that Ding stole involved building blocks of Google's AI infrastructure, according to the indictment. So Pranav Dixit is over at Engadget.com. The deck statement says the development comes at a time of heightened tensions between the U.S. and China over AI, and that's because it's been long known. I don't hear about people from the United States stealing Chinese intellectual property in China. You know what I'm saying? But I hear it often enough that there are people that are working in the United States that are exfiltrating data to various other countries. And it's cheaper to do that. Even risk getting caught, because you can just sit there and go, yeah, we don't know what you're doing, duh. But it saves you millions, billions, or trillions of dollars, depending on what it is. So Ding was arrested in Newark, California, charged with 4 counts of theft of trade secrets. If convicted, he can be sentenced up to 10 years and imprisoned, in prison, and then a fine of $250,000 for each count. So he's looking at $1 million. We have strict safeguards to prevent the theft of our confidential and commercial information and trade secrets. After an investigation, we found that this employee stole numerous documents, and we quickly referred the case to law enforcement. We are grateful to the FBI for helping protect our information, and will continue cooperating with them closely. Last year, the Biden administration banned the export of advanced AI chips designed by American companies like nVidia to China to stop the country from using AI to strengthen its military. Quote, today's charges are the latest illustration of the lengths affiliates of companies based in the People's Republic of China are willing to go to steal American innovation, said FBI Director Christopher Wray in a statement. Quote, the theft of innovative technology and trade secrets from American companies can cost jobs and have devastating economic and national security consequences. Yep, absolutely, for sure. This is a different article, but the indictment revealed all kinds of details about the nature of the crime. Ding allegedly copied information from Google's files into Apple Notes on his laptop first, then converted them to a PDF that he uploaded to his personal Google account to avoid detection by Google's data loss prevention systems. He also gave his Google badge to another Google employee in California to make it seem like he was working from Google's offices in the state while actually working for rival companies in China. Prosecutors said that Ding helped in raising capital for one of the Chinese companies that he worked with as its chief technology officer. And last year, he also founded another AI company in China and served as its CEO. Wow. Busy little ant. All right. Well, that's it for Technology Today. End with a bang, right? So we always get back into the party bus and we head back down Main Street, and this is Technology Today. So Technology Today, we click on it and it refreshes, and we might have some new news, but not since starting the show. But that's okay. There's always new news coming to ohmtown.com. It may not always be in Technology Today, but there is always something coming. So just go and visit ohmtown.com. That would be awesome. And don't forget to follow us here on twitch.tv/ohmtown. Go over to YouTube and follow us over there. That community is actually growing pretty quick, but I understand what's going on with Twitch. Yeah, people kind of expect a longer form than an hour at a time. We're now up to 3+ hours on the weekends each day, an hour and a half daily each night at 8 o'clock Eastern. We try to do it earlier, but we'll be expanding 2 more shows, not this week, but in 2 weeks, actually. We'll be adding 2 more shows for the weekend. We don't have the ability to launch more shows during the week, but I hope you enjoy the shows and the niche shows, which are adding up to a full day of streaming eventually, as time allows us and our planning allows us to grow ohmTown and ohmTown.com. So thanks very much for coming and hanging out, and we'll see you tomorrow, 8 p.m. Eastern, for ohmTown Daily News Show. Don't forget to swing by YouTube and follow us over on there and watch all 840 or something like that episodes of ohmTown and Reality Hacker and Continuity Report and Wanted and Technology Today and a few other things. So go check it out. Thanks, and I'll see you tomorrow. Bye-bye.